little off topic. What an intro. Anyway, this video is a little bit weird. If you guys remember my little series, Mechanical Keyboards 101, I went over a lot of the stuff from choosing mechanical keyboard to customizing mechanical keyboard, and I said part 2 would have been the last of that series. However, I decided to go ahead and continue one more video, so I guess you can call this part 2a, I guess. So this is the actual end. In this video, I will be changing out the LEDs in that Razer Black Widow Tournament Edition. So that keyboard comes with 3 LEDs, one on the very bottom with the Razer logo, another one on the caps lock key, and then another one in the scroll lock key. So in the actual video, I'm only going to be demonstrating myself changing out the Razer logo, because the other two are pretty much the same, except you would stick the LED in through the switch instead of just through the PCB itself. So yeah, let's get going. So before I actually start this video, there's a few tools I'd recommend you have. So this keyboard is kind of a pain to take apart. If you notice on the bottom, there are a few little rubber feet. You can just pull those up. I'd recommend some kind of prying tool. I used my trusty Buck 110 folding pocket knife. But you guys can use pretty much anything from just any sort of flat object. So from there, I'd also recommend some kind of screwdriver for actually taking the keyboard apart. I have this multi-bit ratcheting screwdriver. However, a set of precision screwdrivers or just a Phillips head will work just fine as well. And finally, to actually take the keyboard apart, I would recommend some kind of flat object like a paint scraper, guitar pick, or if you don't mind the plastic on the bottom of your keyboard getting a bit ruined, a knife, which is what I used. I used a knife and an old paint scraper. And so yeah, from there what you're going to do is just take off the rubber feet and start unscrewing in a cross pattern or however you want to. I guess it doesn't really matter. From there, you're going to go ahead and take your flat prying object and just stick it in between where the 2 pieces of plastic meet, and then just stick it in there and just yank it off. That's it. They're going to hit a couple little connecty bits, and all you got to do there is just pull them apart quite firmly and they'll just pop right off. From there, you can turn the keyboard back over onto its normal sitting position and take off the face of the keyboard. From there, you will be met with the PCB and all the switches and the keycaps and everything. You're gonna go ahead and flip it over onto preferably a soft surface. I didn't put anything down, but you know. And you're gonna go ahead and lift the back piece of plastic off, but be careful because there is a little USB connector thing with some wires where you plug the wire in and out of. Be careful not to tear any of those wires, but just use your judgment when taking this bit out. From here, I would also recommend taking off all the keycaps. However, that's not necessary. I didn't do that. And if you have anything handy, go ahead and prop the keyboard up a bit. Again, I didn't need to do that because I left the keycaps on, but still. From there, go ahead and identify where the LEDs you want to change out are. In my case, at the very bottom, I can see the LED itself and the 2 prongs. I went ahead and snipped that before I made the video, but you can use anything from a pair of like wire snippers or a pair of scissors even. I use these little jewelry cutter things that I got at Michael's for like $7. Okay, so from there, this is where your trusty soldering iron comes in. So some tools you would need here obviously is a soldering iron and either a solder sucker or some kind of solder pick. I have both, and of course some solder and flux. I applied my flux in before starting the camera because I'm using, that weird type of, I'm not using a flux pen, I'm using that weird flux you gotta like dab on with a Q-tip, and it was just a pain to show on camera. So you apply your flux and you just heat up the solder and until it's nice and shiny. And this is where timing is key. So if you take the soldering iron off and wait too long, the solder will set again and it's just annoying. You risk burning out the PCB and ruining the LED and all that if you want to keep the LED and didn't snip it. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the soldering iron, put it on the solder joint until it's nice and melty. Then you're going to take your solder sucker, press the little button on the top, and put the sucky end on the solder while it's still wet. Hit the button, and then if you did it right, it should just pop up nice and clean. Another thing you can do is with the soldering pick, get the solder nice and soldery, melty, and just roll it up in a ball with a pick and just pick it off. It's not hard. You can do it with like a screwdriver or something even if you wanted to. I messed it up and I did it both ways. As you can see in the video, I actually ended up touching my pinky to the soldering iron, and I've got a nice little scar on my pinky to show my mistakes. And yeah, so from there, once you have the solder all off and nice and clean, you can take your LED. I purchased mine from amazinglights.com, even though I wouldn't recommend shopping there for LED bulbs anymore. I'd recommend just, I guess, going online, Amazon, doing some Googling. However, it's still a very viable choice for LEDs, as they do have most colors. I opted for a nice frosty pink, however what I got was more of a bluish pink, which is fine. So these, I believe, are polarized. I didn't pay attention to what kind of resistors I need, because I didn't really feel like replacing the resistors, because all the Radio Shacks near me have gone out of business. So yeah, I just used the default ones that were in there, and they seem to work just fine. So what you're going to want to do is find whatever end the LEDs go in. I believe the tall end is positive and the short end is negative. You just stick it through the holes until you find whichever direction it lights up. And you can see it in the video here, a nice little screenshot. So once it's in, you decide what position you want it in. In this case, I needed it coming in from the bottom and bending outwards, so I went ahead and did that. And to solder it back in, what I would typically do, or what a lot of people recommend doing when you're soldering onto a keyboard PCB, is bending the leads a bit so they stay in place while you're soldering. And that's not my favorite way to do things, even though I do believe I did it in the video. What I will typically do is I will have the keyboard propped up for me. I will hold the LED prong and then just put a little solder there so it stays in place on its own. And so that way you're free to solder and then clip the joints or clip the excess leads as you wish. Although I do believe I bent them this time, because I don't think I'm going to be taking these out anytime soon. And this is PCB mounted instead of plate mounted, so it is all good. So you just do whatever method you want to solder it back in. To solder it back in, obviously, you put a little bit of solder on the soldering iron, then you heat up the lead, and then you touch the solder to the lead and the solder sticks, and you're golden. Don't forget to flux it up and all that, and you're all good. So now if you want to go ahead and change out the key LEDs, which I'm not going to do in the video, I didn't record that because it is just a pain. And I did get the wrong size LEDs for that, so I did have to order some new ones, which is a pain. I wound up just taking them out completely because the new LEDs just didn't look right in there. But what you're going to want to do is just unsolder them the same way, find the solder joints, take them out, and then just do the exact same thing you did. You might have to take the switch out completely, and to do that, all you're going to do is find the switch, unsolder it, and then stick the LED through where it goes, and then you're golden. In this case, I believe I was able to just unsolder the LED and pop it through, although that probably isn't recommended, because I did probably break the lead a bit. Yeah. So there's that. You got your shiny new keyboard. You can put your new keycaps on, make it look all pretty, and there's your custom LED logo or lights or whatever else you decided to put in your keyboard. This project is pretty much good for anybody. This is my very first time soldering, actually. I had a total of 20 minutes practice both soldering and desoldering before I actually took on this project. I would not recommend this to some, other newbies to soldering and customizing keyboards and stuff, because I almost did ruin my keyboard twice, and I'm pretty sure I caused permanent damage to the nerves on my pinky because I have no feeling in there anymore. So yeah, just take that how you will. If you decide to do it anyway, it's not really a hard project to do. Just I guess watch this video over again or watch other videos on it, and just make sure you don't touch the soldering iron for one, and make sure you don't fry your PCB, which is pretty hard to do. So yeah, my name is Anthony from SteamFirst.com. Thanks for watching this video, and if you guys want more keyboard videos, let me know in the comments, although I'm probably not going to make any more in the near future. And yeah, also be sure to check out our shop for some cool SteamFirst t-shirts, and my live stream on twitch.tv/AnthonyTofu. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video.